For thousands of years, the Asian cultures have been using hypnosis to gain access to past lives. Thankfully today, we now have timeline therapy techniques where you can learn how to perform a past life regression. In this video, I'll be demonstrating to you a past life regression using timeline therapy techniques. As I take my clients on a journey on their timeline, I'll be taking them back through past lives. I'll also be taking them out into future lives so they can become more self-aware and have better self-regulation. Self-awareness and self-regulation are a component of emotional intelligence. People who are more emotionally intelligent always make more sales and a lot more money. Now, if you're of interest in these techniques and you'd like to learn timeline therapy to deliver a past life regression, then I'd like to speak with you personally. Once you've watched this video, go ahead and send me a message and I'll speak with you in the week ahead. In front of your face?
Yeah.
Interesting. Good. Elk, where was your past? Where was your future?
Still past behind me, future in front.
Excellent, good. So what I want you to do, everybody point to your past and point to the future. Okay, very good. So we all do it differently, is that okay?
Yeah.
Good. Now we're going to do something very special. So what I'd like you to be able to do is I just want you to follow some instructions. Can you follow instructions?
Yes.
What does Richard Bandler say? Only stupid people. We're not stupid, are we? We're not. Good. So we're going to go for a journey on your timeline. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Good. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to go ahead and I'd like you to close your eyes. Is it coming from that one?
No, it's not.
It's just a bit distracting.
Thanks, Sue. Good. Good. So go ahead, close the eyes. Everybody close their eyes. Excellent. I just want you to sit back and I want you to relax. I just want you to breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth. Breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. I just want you to make that body nice and relaxed. Relax all the tension in the face. Relax all the tension in the jaw. And just make your face nice and relaxed. As you relax the muscles in the face, just begin to relax the muscles in the neck. And now, allow your body to relax. Excellent. Good. Just relax all the muscles in the chest. Roll those shoulders, make them nice and relaxed. Excellent. Now what I'd like you to do, just inside of your mind, I want you to recall the location of your past. I just want you to remember to which direction you pointed to for your past. And now I want you to bring back to your mind the location of your future. And as you remember the location of those 2 points, what I want you to do is I want you to imagine that they're connected by a line. And that line will symbolize your timeline. Maybe it's a certain color, or a certain shape, a certain distance, and even a certain width. And what I'd like you to do now is I'd like you to go ahead and float up above your timeline. And when I say float, it can be like floating in a bathtub, or floating like sounds on the wind. Or maybe you do it visually where you just float up above that timeline. And I want you to float up higher above that timeline. So as you look down on the timeline, it just looks 1 inch long. So float up nice and high above that timeline. Excellent. Now what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to float back into your past. I want you to float back into the past. I want you to go a week into your past. Floating all the way back a week into your past. And begin to notice what you can see, what you can hear, what you can feel. Or maybe it's just a sensation of knowing something happened a week ago into your past. And I just want you to remember. Excellent. Now I'd like you to float up higher and further back into the past. I'd like you to float higher up and further back into the past, and I want you to go a week more into the past. And keep floating back all the way a month into your past. And when you get there, a month ago into your past, I want you to begin to notice the event that is taking place as you're looking down on that timeline. What is it that you can see? What can you feel? What can you hear? Or what do you say to yourself? Or it's a sensation of knowing something was happening a month ago into the past. And just remember that event. And now, trusting the unconscious mind, I'd like you to float up higher and further back into the past. And I'd like you to float all the way back into the past a year ago, to this time 1 year ago. And as you're looking down on your timeline, just begin to notice the events that are taking place a year ago into your past. Notice what you see. Notice what you hear. Or maybe there's a certain feeling. And just remember. And trusting the unconscious mind, I'd like you to begin to float up higher and further back into your past. But this time I want you to go 10 years back into your past. Floating up higher and further back, 10 years ago into your past. And when you're there, 10 years ago, I want you to look down onto the timeline and just begin to notice the events that are taking place 10 years ago into your past. Notice what you see. Notice what you hear. And notice what you feel 10 years ago into your past. And just remember. Excellent. And now floating up higher and further back into your past. I want you to go all the way back into your past. I want you to go 20 years into your past. And looking down on those events and noticing what you can see, what you can hear, and what you can feel 20 years ago into your past. Excellent. Some of these things might just be a sudden flash of awareness. It could be a picture, or it could be a symbol, just so you understand what's happening. It might be a certain feeling, a location, a place, a face, a memory. Just recognize whatever's there. And now, trusting the unconscious mind, I want you to float up higher and further back into your past. And I want you to float all the way back into your teenage years. And looking down on the event, just notice what you can see happening in your teenage years. Maybe there's a certain event, maybe there's a certain smell or a taste or a feeling. Just begin to notice what's happening back there in those teenage years. Your unconscious mind remembers. And now floating higher and further back, I want you to go into your youth, all the way back there, as a child. And as you're there, I want you to look down onto that memory and notice what you can see or what you can feel. Maybe it's a sensation or a certain knowingness. And if you can feel the emotion, just float up higher and higher. Float up above that, just so you're looking down on it. I don't want you going into the memory. I just want you to float above it and look down on it. And just remember what's happening. Excellent. And now I want you to float up higher and further back. And I want you to go back to the very first memory that you have in this lifetime. The first memory that you can recall, all the way back into the past. Floating higher and further back and looking down on the event. What do you see? What do you hear? What do you feel? Maybe you just know something's happening. Excellent. And trusting your unconscious mind, I want you to float up higher and further back. And I want you to float back to the time of your birth. At that time you were birthed into this world, at the time of your birth. And notice what you can see, what you can hear, and what you feel at the time of your birth. And remember, whatever you see is true for you. And now, I'd like you to float up higher and further back into the past. And I want you to float back to the beginning of your timeline, of this lifetime. Floating all the way back to the beginning of this lifetime, on this timeline. And begin to notice what's happening at the start of this lifetime on your timeline. Now, some people believed that there was lifetimes before this lifetime. And what I'd like you to do now is I'd like you to float up above the timeline. And I want you to float further back into the timelines that led to this timeline. And I want you to float back through your past and begin to notice all those other lives that you've lived. All those people that you've been before this lifetime. And keep floating back further into the past. And begin to be aware of all those lifetimes and those timelines before this lifetime. And go back through those memories, further back into the past. And begin to notice what you can see, what you can feel. Maybe there was a certain experience that you had in a lifetime before this lifetime. And keep moving back through those lifetimes, being aware of what was happening before this life, in this lifetime. And as you go back, I want you to go back further to the beginning and the creation of your life, the first life of all lifetimes that have led to this lifetime, going back further and further back into your past, all the way back to the beginning of time, of your time. And begin to remember what was happening in all of those lifetimes before this lifetime, all the way back to the start of your creation. And when you're there, I want you to turn around and look back towards now. From the beginning of your creation, looking through all of those lifetimes, all the way up to now. Looking all the way back to now. Looking across all of those lifetimes, all the way back to now. And now what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to float all the way back to now. I'd like you to float above all of those timelines, all the way back above now. And now I'd like you to go out a week into your future. I'd like you to float a week out into your future, a week after today. I'd like you to look down onto the timeline and notice what's happening a week from now. What can you see? What can you feel? A week out into your future. And just remember, maybe it's a big one. And now I'd like you to float up higher and further out into your future. A month out into your future. Floating up higher and further, a month out into your future. And just begin to notice what's out there in your future. And floating up higher and further out into your future. I'd like you to float out a year out into your future. A year from today, all the way out, a year into your future. And begin to notice what's happening a year out into your future. Maybe it's another big one. Excellent. And trusting your unconscious mind, I'd like you to float up higher and further out into your future. I want you to go 10 years out into your future, 10 years from today, and begin to notice what's happening 10 years out into your future. All the way out, 10 years out into your future. And now go further out again. I want you to go all the way out, 20 years from today. And notice what's happening 20 years from now, all the way out into your future. Excellent. And now, trusting your unconscious mind, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to float out further into your future. I want you to float out to the very end of your life in this lifetime. Floating all the way out to the very end of your life in this lifetime. And just begin to notice what's happening at the very end of your life in this lifetime. And just remember what's happening at the end of your lifetime in this lifetime. And now what I'd like you to do, just remember what's happening at the end of this lifetime on this timeline. And now I want you to float up higher, and I want you to float out further beyond this lifetime, into your next lifetime, onto the next timeline. And I want you to keep going further out there, through all those future lives, life after life after life, living a very long life after life, past all those future timelines, all the way out into the future. And remember what's happening in these lifetimes beyond this lifetime. And keep going further out, beyond the lifetimes in this lifetime. And you might be surprised just how long you can actually live life, and further out. I want you to go all the way out to the very end of time. And when you get there, I want you to stop and turn and look towards now. and look across all of those lifetimes, all the way through those timelines and those lifetimes, and those many lives that you've lived beyond this one, and looking all the way back to now. And remember. Excellent. Excellent. And what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to float up higher above the timeline. And I'd like you to move back towards now, remembering all of those future lives, all of those timelines as they lead back towards now. I'd like you to float all the way back to now, floating all the way back to now. And when you're above now, I'd like you to look down upon now and noticing that you can see all of your past. You can see all of your future. And you're looking and floating right above now. And in a moment, but not yet, I'm going to ask you to float back down into now, but not yet. What I'd like you to do now, I'd like you just to slowly float down back into now. I want you to float back down into your body, keeping the eyes closed, floating back down into your body in this lifetime. And when you're ready, I want you to go ahead and open the eyes right now. Welcome back. Excellent. Welcome back. So what I'd like you to do, I'd like you to take a few notes on your paper there. And I want you to write down a few of the memories from the past, and I'd like you to write down a few of the memories from the future. Excellent.